Well, follow suit. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December meeting of our council. Firstly, got apologies from Councillor Tim Barshall and Councillor Wendy Doody. I see Councillor Barshall's online. Councillor Doody was going to try to, but she has had an incident that is making things a little problematic for her. She's got a broken bone somewhere in a difficult spot, so but she was wanting me to extend her apologies. So is there any other apologies for today's meeting? So will someone prepared to move? Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded. Councillor McLaren, sure you do. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Are there any conflicts of interest for recording today? I come to acknowledgements, and firstly, I'd really like to, good morning, David. I'd really like to acknowledge Phyllis Band of Woodend, who a couple of weeks ago turned 100, and Councillor Powell was in the building when I was just going out, and I said to her, would she like to come and join me? I hadn't appreciated that Phyllis lived in Woodend until I looked at my diary. So we had a delightful half an hour or so with Phyllis, learning about her wonderful life. It's not every day you have someone turn 100, and it's my practice when someone does, thank you, David, turn 100, that I take them some flowers and visit them in person if possible. And it's always amazing the wonderful stories that they share of their wonderful life. And she had some I really can't share, but she did credit her long life to drinking our water. So so that was one of the bits we could share. But she just to acknowledge Phyllis' amazing achievement. And thank you for sharing that, David. But last night I went in to write on the launch of Living the Dream, and there are a number of students who were published in this publication, including a number from Oxford area schools. So it was lovely to go on and celebrate that with them in the Tūronga last evening. So there's a copy of that here, which I'm happy to share with you, with the various things that my understanding, the chair of that august organisation may well be present in our media gallery, if you can guess who it is, but just to acknowledge them as well. Any other acknowledgements? Okay. We come to...
Can we?
What was that? Councillor?
We would like to congratulate Julia Dan on your recent engagement, and all the very best for your future happiness.
Thank you very much.
With your new family.
Thank you, and appreciate that, and I know that many of you were present on Saturday when was our birthday parties actually, where I surprised my now fiancée with that very matter. She didn't think it was going to happen until February, because that's what I told her, as I couldn't afford the ring till then. But when I got it, when I started talking, she sort of got the idea that something was up, and when I got on my knees, that's when she really realised that it was happening. So it's lovely to be able to share that with those who were there, and thank you for that acknowledgement. All right, and of course you'll all be invited to the wedding when we set it. All right, come to confirmation of minutes which are recorded. Just before I come to that, I'd just like to thank Councillor Mealings, who did do some analysis of our committees and memberships and relativity of who's on what. It would be fair to say that the lead up to this, there were quite a few versions, and one of them got lost in terms of the formatting. So whether in that there was some editing errors, it appears there might be, it's something we'll sit down with both Philip and Nikki with Jeff when he returns, and just go over that with Sarah and just make sure we've got that right. And if there are any adjustments, I'll be in touch with members individually. We've tried to make sure everyone was on a committee, at least two committees, a chairing role, and then the apportionment of the portfolios and other outside appointments. So if there are, when we look at it, some edits that need to occur, we'll be in touch. It's not major, it's just some adjustments where necessary. That was trying to get everyone where they wanted to be, at least their first preference. But these things happen. We will, if we need to, and thank you, Councillor Meanings, for looking at that in depth. We'll be back to our February meeting with any adjustments if necessary. So with that, is someone prepared to move the recommendation of the minutes? Councillor Edmund, Deputy Member Edmund, and seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. I'll put the minutes. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Any matters arising? Apart from the point that I raised already. Now we come to deputations and presentations, and firstly is one in the name of Nairi Wilkinson, and I understand Virginia Gendy, who will speak in relation to potential stormwater management area, SMA and Mill Road of Ahoka. Just for members' benefit, there will be a report coming to Council, I believe, in February. There is another party that would also like to speak to this, and I've said he's welcome to come to the February meeting if he's able to do so. But if possible, it would be good for us to have a workshop prior to that, so that if there's any questions a bit more broadly, they can be answered. So Simon, if we can just enable that to occur, because I think it's not as straightforward as it may appear, and there's been a lot of work on this over many years. So I do appreciate Nairi's presence here today. So Nairi, you won't be a stranger to council process, having worked here in the past. Lovely to see you. So I believe you're on mute there at the moment. So Nairi, you've got up to 10 minutes, and there may be an opportunity for some questions thereafter. So thank you for being with us today. Is Virginia joining you as well?
Sorry, Gendy's not able to be here. So it's just me.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Please open to you to speak to us.
Okay. Oh, well, first of all, Dean, congratulations on your engagement. That's lovely news. Yes, congratulations. Right. Now, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak today, which is appreciated. And my name's Nairi Wilkinson, and I'm the owner of Lot 2, DP 541399 at 382 Mill Road, Ahoka, and that is 2.2 hectares. It's one of 8 properties included in the 2013 private plan change known as ODP 160. Now, 382 Mill Road has direct access from Mill Road, and it's not subject to any restrictions relating to Kintyre Lane, which has been a problem in the past, well, for some. Now, just to show you the map, if you can see the map there, that's a map of the property. Now, the blue is the SMA, the black is what I still own. Now, there is an access way through the centre down to Mill Road. There is also a right-of-way or walkway, not a right-of-way, walkway around the outside perimeter in green, and that is also a reserve. Now, for a number of years, I've been trying to complete a subdivision on my land. Over that time, the project has faced numerous delays, plan changes, shifting regulatory requirements, and now the government's 2-year RMA plan stop and moratorium. I'm here today to ask the Council to make decisions that will allow this long-stalled process to finally move forward. Some background. The ODP 160 originally allowed for subdivision of up to 81 lots across 52 hectares. The stormwater solution for the development was intended to be a catchment-wide stormwater management area, or the SMA. My late husband and I originally owned 4 hectares, and because our land sat on the edge of the planned change area, we were asked to provide land for the SMA. We reluctantly agreed on the clear understanding that we would not be disadvantaged. We ultimately sold 1.4 hectares to the council to be vested as local purpose stormwater reserve, along with the 10 metre wide walkway around the perimeter. And that's a total of 3,849 square metres. And that's vested as recreation reserve, leaving us with 2.2 hectares. As it turned out, as the land was to be designated reserve land, the valuation was less than the value of one section. This walkway is fenced, inaccessible and unmaintained. It runs parallel to Kintyre Lane and does not connect to anything. It is bluntly neither use nor ornament. The sale of the RMA and walkway land was completed in 2021. Then delays in changing requirements. Since then, the project has been repeatedly delayed. Firstly, ECAN consents. ECAN required consent to contain stormwater in the SMA, which council obtained. ECAN then required a discharge consent, also obtained. Then ECAN advised that this area no longer required any consent to take or discharge stormwater. So, moving on, individual departure from the ODP. One owner then applied to depart from the original stormwater plan and use an individual on-site disposal system, and council granted this. Then at the March 2024 meeting, it was held with 7 of the 8 landowners, a councillor and staff. It was unanimously agreed that a council report would be prepared recommending the SMA no longer be required and all owners be allowed on-site stormwater management. This was the preferred option of all attending landowners. However, the report was put on hold until the new district plan was released, which was July 2025. This allowed for reduced minimum size lots, but retaining the 5,000 square metre average. The report is now not scheduled to go to council until February 2026, as you've heard. Then the requirement for individual applications. We were advised that because removing the SMA changes the ODP 160 plan change, each landowner must apply individually for on-site discharge. This creates additional cost and delay for each of us. I'd like to see an overall application. 5, the government moratorium. On the 6th of October, at a meeting with council staff, I was informed that the government 2-year plan stop moratorium would apply to my situation. However, on the 29th of October, the Ministry for the Environment, who deal with this on the Minister's behalf, advised me directly that the Minister, Chris Bishop, has already made numerous exemptions, ranging from small matters like mine to major RMA applications. And I was told that my request would very likely qualify as a minor exemption. But the request must come from council, not me. My request to repurchase the land. From the beginning, I made it clear that if the SMA was no longer required, I wished to be given the first option to repurchase the land that I was required to sell. That's under the purchase is required under the Public Works Act. That is the 1.4 hectare stormwater reserve plus the 3,800 roughly walkway reserve. I raised this again after the new district plan was completed and again with staff in October. I understand that there is a formal process to revoke the reserve status. It is not complicated. The process can be done quickly and efficiently if council chooses to do so. And what I'm asking the council to do, given the 12-year history of delays, changing requirements and unnecessary holding of land no longer needed for stormwater, I respectfully request that council urgently, 1, proceed to declare the land surplus and revoke the SMA and reserve status of the 2 parcels of land. 2, confirm that individual on-site stormwater disposal is acceptable for the 8 properties without the need for numerous individual reports, such as geotechs. 3, sell the land back to me as the original owner. 4, write to the Ministry for the Environment requesting an exemption by Minister Chris Bishop from the 2-year moratorium.
You need to get a glass of water, Nairi.
Yeah, Sam, can you get me a drink, please? Sam, can you get me a drink, please?
You need to go.
Got his headphones.
We can wait. So.
He's got his headphones on. Can you get me a drink, please? Right. Right, what did I say? Where did I get to?
The Minister,
so,
I think it was. Or
yes, yeah. Well, what I'm asking the council to do. Oh, thank you, love. Right. Yes, what I'm asking the council to do is proceed with the land surplus, proceed to declare the land surplus and revoke the SMA and reserve status of the 2 parcels. Confirm that individual on-site stormwater disposal is acceptable for the 8 properties without the need for numerous individual reports, such as geotech. Sell the land back to me as the original owner and write to the Ministry for the Environment requesting an exemption by Minister Chris Bishop from the 2-year moratorium to allow the process to proceed. Why this matters. The ODP 160 was granted in 2013. My subdivision application dates back to 2020 was the first one. That is 5 years of active effort and 12 years since the project began. Costs have nearly doubled. Land values have increased approximately around 11% in that same period. The financial, emotional and practical toll has been immense. I simply want the chance to subdivide my own land and to do so while I'm still alive to complete it. This situation exemplifies exactly the kind of RMA and process inefficiencies that Minister Seymour and Minister Bishop have publicly committed to fixing. And I acknowledge that this is not all waimakariri. Council has the ability, and I believe the responsibility, to resolve the situation that has become unnecessarily complex, unfair, and drawn out. I'm asking that you let me buy back land that is no longer required, that is surplus, to let all 8 owners manage stormwater on site efficiently, and to help us finally complete a process that has been stalled for more than a decade. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Nairi, and it's very clear what you're requesting. I'm wondering if you're able to perhaps it seemed you were referring to a document there, if you're happy to share that via our council staff, so we've got that request from you in writing. Is that possible?
Yes, I sent an email to Environment, to the Ministry for the Environment. I think staff may have a copy of that. I did send it to them for their information.
I think it has been circulated. I must have missed that in my documents this morning, so thank you. Any questions of colleagues? No, there isn't any questions, but I think it's because you've put your request so clearly. So, as we say, there will be a report in February.
Yes.
I believe that's probably likely to be public excluded at this point, but I'll check the reasons and rationale for that, and what we can share with you in terms of its recommendations. We'll see what we can do. So if you did wish to speak to it further, we can provide that opportunity, but we'll give that due consideration.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Nairi. Have a good Christmas.
Okay. Yes, you too, and thank you all for your time. Thanks very much.
Take care. Bye now.
Good day. Bye.
All right. Our next item is I've got no adjourned business. Item 7 is the Water Services Related Report. 7.1, the Woodend Box Drain Treatment Facility Upgrade. So it's Jason and Katina. Is it Katina?
Don's going to join me up here.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Jason, welcome. And just while staff are there, I'll pass around the right on. I've put a page in there where those students have written, so when you get a chance to have a look at very talented young writers. So thank you, David, for bringing that along from Oxford Area School. Right.
Good morning. Today I'm here to update you on the Woodend Box Drain Treatment Facility upgrade and to seek your approval to move the project into design stage. The solution we're recommending is a combination of an offline first flush basin and constructed wetland. The box drain catchment is one of the largest areas in Woodend without comprehensive stormwater treatment, and at the moment stormwater goes through a pipe network and a gross pollutant trap which only provides limited treatment. The water sampling has showed that the water quality is still not meeting regional standards set out by our discharge consent, and Nai Tuahuriri have raised ongoing concerns about discharges into the Tuahiri stream. Council's purchase of the adjoining properties on Rangiora Woodend Road in 2022 gives us a great opportunity to improve the water quality and do so in a way that respects the cultural significance of the site. We've been working closely with Nai Tuahuriri Rinanga through a co-design approach, ensuring their perspectives are integrated from the very start. And after looking at options in 2024, the offline first flush basin and wetland came out as the recommended solution. We have since carried out a feasibility assessment, which has confirmed that the design is workable. The total estimated cost for design and construction is $1.4 million. While that's above our current budget, we can cover the shortfall by reallocating funds from the existing Woodend consent implementation budget. So in short, the project control group recommends that moving the design stage so we can refine plans, confirm details, and deliver a solution that improves stormwater quality for Woodend. With that, open to take any questions.
Thank you. Don, is there anything you want to add? No. Questions of colleagues. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jason, can you give us some sort of concept of what a modern box drain looks like? I had family down in Waimate, for instance, and they had an old style box drain. What is the structure and is it currently? Yeah. In a degraded state, is it currently in a? There's one there currently, isn't there?
There is not. So
there is not. So what is a modern box drain?
We call it the box drain because previously it was I guess a box line drain, so a box channel, a rectangular channel with wooden struts along it. Since then, we have upgraded it to it's a 600 pipe with a swell above. But before that, there's a gross pollutant trap. So that'll trap some of the large litter, some of the larger sediment particles. And then when we get a large rain event, it will overflow the manhole and go onto the swell and then down into the channel. So not going through the gross pollutant trap.
So it's a fairly standard design practice. There's nothing innovative about the design, or
as far as the first flush basin and wetland, yes, very standard. as part of the WWDG line of treatment. So it'll go through, we will keep the existing gross pollutant trap, which is like the first filter, so taking away that large debris. They'll again then go on to the first flush basin where it will remain there and it will settle, and some of those smaller particles, heavy metals, will come out of the water, and then it will go onto the wetland, which is more of a polishing, and it will filter it through the vegetation and biological uptake, and then discharges into the stream.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I just add to that? One of the key challenges we've faced through the design to date, or the feasibility to date, is I wouldn't even say a small distance, because often it's overlapping between the groundwater and the height we have to play with as it comes out of Wood End. So there's actually very little room between when the groundwater comes up and where our water level is. And in actual fact, often it's the opposite way around. So we've spent quite a lot of time over the last 12, 18, 24 months working through the feasibility of this report. So you're right that there's nothing really, it is quite a standard approach, but it has had to have quite a lot of detailed thinking and investigation to ensure we're not going to completely flood our wetland plants, we're not going to have too much water coming in and using up all of our space. All of those sorts of matters have been carefully thought through. It's not without risk, this design. There are assumptions and conclusions reached which have yet to be fully refined, but we have reached a point of comfort that amount of groundwater coming in is sufficient. We can cope with it in our design, and it's not going to upset the careful balance that we've got.
And if, again, being a capture of water and sediment and everything, is this of some comfort to the surrounding community that, I mean, it's not going to be perceived as a dam or something, or a risk in the event of mishap or failure, that sort of thing? How do you go about easing concerns for that?
I think 2 or 3 answers. Ngāi are really pleased we're onto this. I think, as Jason mentioned as an introduction, this has been a source of concern for decades in terms of what we're doing with this flow and how it's being treated. So they are really pleased that this is now being addressed. In terms of the upstream catchment people, we are taking great care to make sure that this flow won't be backing up and coming back up the sumps in the upstream area. In terms of there won't really effectively be a dam type effect. The distances are all so small, we're only talking sort of a 1 metre type depression there that will fill up occasionally and then drain down to our, through our culverts and drain out again. So it's quite a small structure in terms of vertical.
Thank you. Councillor Cairns, then Mealings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your comprehensive report. You've actually already just answered my question, which related to the wetland. Where does it actually go to in the end? And you said that the outfall is into the stream. One other question. In terms of the digging out for the wetland and that sort of stuff, does the soil then remain on site, or does it get taken away? And is it an archaeological site, or is there any other issues that we may have to deal with which are outside of the report?
So as far as the fill or the cut, we would try to use as much as possible on site, but it would be likely that we'd have to haul some of the cut off site, so that would have to be, I believe that is included in the estimated cost. As far as the archaeological, I don't, we would have to do an assessment, and if it were required, then they would have to be on site when we were doing any digging, and then if there was anything found, we would have to halt operations.
Thank you. Councillor Mealings.
Thank you. Really good to see this happening, potentially. But just in 1.9, it lays out how the shortfall can be funded through reassignment of the existing Wood End consent implementation budget. So with no additional rates impact, which is fantastic. We like the sound of that. But what was that budget for originally? Is there anything that we'll be missing out for doing this, or does this project pick up on the intent of that budget anyway?
Yeah, so those budgets are set out for each of our global consents in our 4 townships. We are required by a condition in our consent to create a stormwater management plan. Now, we've done that for Rangiora since that consent was active a couple of years prior. We are working on the ones for Woodend, Oxford, and Kaiapoi. And so part of what that stormwater management plan is, it goes into detail of how we're going to manage our stormwater and how we're going to meet our consent requirements that we've outlined in our application. We said we'd do it by 2040. So we have exceedances in our stormwater sampling. And so that stormwater management plan, part of it is prioritizing catchments where we have issues with, either based off land use or we don't have any current treatment. And so this being the largest untreated catchment in Woodend, it would be the #1 priority. And so along with that stormwater management plan, we outline potential projects that we could use with, for Woodend, it is $2.7 million that was approved as part of the long-term plan that's spread out over 6 years. And so we outline projects that that funding would be used for. Right now, we're doing it with Rangiora. We're doing the first phase, which is the investigation into those potential projects and those program of works and how we're going to undertake that work, which projects are going to be first. And that's basically what the SMP will outline in Woodend.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? We have a series of recommendations. Is someone clear to move? I'll move. Seconded, Councillor Fulton. Just to say I support us undertaking this work. We have, in identifying purchasing the land in the first place, was to remedy a deficiency that we had well recognised. Any of us who've been involved around the times of weather events and other items see at these times the pressure it puts under this particular area, also with the growth and other things that have occurred around there. So this is something that we do need to address. Thank the staff for the work, and I like the co-design way that this has been developed, and because it's right within Māori Reserve 873, it's really important that we do get this right, and it's, I think, a real demonstration of the partnership that we have and the way in which we've worked together. So thank you for that. So I have no hesitation in supporting this. Also, as we're progressively moving around, there's lots of areas where we're identifying drainage as a priority for investment, which sits in our long-term plan, and we've got Mandeville, we've got all the other locations that we've progressively been working upon, and I think it proves the investment that case that Jared bought, or Mr. Cleary bought some years ago, for that team that is identifying and working through this along with our existing staff to make sure where we have these problem areas, it's not just about logging them as an issue, but it's actually working through how we solve it. So this is a case in point. So I'm 100% supportive of this work being undertaken. Councillor Fulton, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think perhaps the notes to 3.7 describe actually to the confluence that we have here, not just of urban and rural, but of distinct communities, and that's the Ngāti Runanga relationship there too as well. I think if it's possible, that actually something that's been done reactively and proactively at the same time. This is probably it, because it really does address something that I have heard this term box drain through my environment committees probably the last 3 years or so, and it goes back way back, probably decades, doesn't it? So this is both addressing perhaps the shortfall that's been there in the past, and perhaps putting something in place that's going to serve this Tuahiwi community and its growth quite well into the future. I was heartened by the responses there to how it's described of what this box drain actually does, and how it does basically sort of filter and seep, and then let the water discharge in quite a natural way, or as natural as possible. So thanks for the work also with the Runa, with Ngāi Tuhariri there. This does feel like a genuine sort of discussion and a partnership, so I'll be happy to support this set of recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Powell?
Just very quickly, Mr Mayor, I'd like to echo your comments around the co-design, which is really wonderful, and thanks to staff for the work that has been done, and it will make a difference in that Gibbs Drive and around that area, which has been a bit problematic, shall we say, and solve the problem of untreated water going into the stream. I would suggest that the report is also circulated to the Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor Powell. And as the mover of the report, I'm happy to add Kaiapoi Tuahiwi to Tuahiwi Community Board and J if the seconder is. So we'll add that in there. Any further speakers? I'm not going to exercise a right of reply, so we'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Hold true, declare that carried. Thank you, team. We now come to 8.1 Rangiora Eastern Links, next steps. So is it Rob, and is Rob here? Oh, there he is. You flying solo, or you got the Don? I just got the Don. Huh? No reference to The Godfather, by the way. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. So this report provides a brief progress update on the Rangiora Eastern Link and seeks approval to bring forward funding so we can complete the concept design and business case ready for submission to NZTA. So over the past year, following NZTA's confirmation of co-funding of the business case and concept design work, the team have made a lot of progress across what is, as we know, a complex project, 3 kilometre long road through multiple landowners and waterways, and some interesting geotechnical conditions as well. So we made good progress. We've got a draft concept and the core elements of a business case. And doing the concept design early, one of the reasons why we decided to do that concept design in parallel with the business case, as opposed to after the business case, which is the way it's normally done, is to service the key issues around the geotech, around soil contamination, around the flood mitigation standard and so on. And we're not quite complete with all the work that's required to ensure that we bed down a cost-effective and complete design and robust business case yet. And so that's why to complete this work, we're asking you to consider bringing forward the necessary budget to do so, so then we can complete the work and come back in February with a completed business case, which we'd then invite you to approve to submit to NZTA for funding. That way we would hopefully be able to secure at least the pre-implementation funding, i.e. design and consenting funding, in next year and not miss that window. Otherwise we'd be waiting until the next 3-year cycle, which is likely to be in mid-2027 for consideration. So that is the summary of the report, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Don, did you have anything to add? Questions of colleagues? Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A really broad one, but we often in council talk about bringing forward sometimes substantial amounts of budget. How does that actually affect our financial sort of flows in terms of, you know, our revenues in and out, our loan servicing or whatever, if that's involved? But I just sort of occurs to me often, you know, if we put forward that amount of money, we do this, some of our major projects and issues as they arise, are we able to, you know, because we budget for good reasons, and we plan for good reasons for our cash flows and revenues and all that sort of stuff.
Simon or Chris or Jared are here, so.
I think Jared is well placed to answer this question.
I'm happy to jump in, and I'm sure if I get it wrong, Chris will correct me. So look, it is a good question, and we put a lot of consideration in when we're putting the budgets together. And just as an example, management's team spent the whole afternoon yesterday going through the budgets for next year line by line, and a big part of it is our capital budgets. So the way it works is we draw down money, loan money in tranches as we need it. And so we do budget and predict how much we're going to spend. But there is some uncertainty we just can't overcome. So any project will have a series of milestones it needs to reach before we actually spend the money. And where we really spend the money is when we put it out for construction. So on a big project like this, where the amount of money we're talking about bringing is actually a very small percentage of that, and a small percentage of our total capital program. And so from time to time we do actually bring reports to you asking for that money to be brought forward, and I actually think that's a good thing in a lot of ways, because the more conservative approach for us to take would be to assume we'll deliver these projects at a faster program, and then we end up getting to the end of the financial year and we haven't actually hit anywhere near the forecast capital expenditure. If you look back over the years, and it's not unique to this council, it's very unlikely that we ever get to 100% of our capital expenditure. So the risk doesn't actually lie in us overspending. It's actually the opposite. We end up budgeting and forecasting that we'll need to draw down more money than we need to. But we do manage that through the year. But it is something management team actually do keep an active eye on, where we're bringing money forward, or for example, where projects, if something goes over budget, that can have an effect as well. And also we do bring a number of projects in under budget as well. But overall, it doesn't amount to enough for you to be concerned about.
Next question.
That's the key thing. It's certainly not. It's just sometimes it's just so difficult to effectively, you're predicting 18 months in advance of when you're going to finish capital projects, and so we do our best on that. But I can assure you that this, for example, isn't going to have a significant.
So really, it would take millions in a project to actually move the cost of capital and things. If you move something forward 18 months, you know, it would. You might benefit at a certain time.
Yes, it would.
Interest rates or whatever. Yeah.
And just let's not, because a lot of this is actually, we budget for when developers are going to either need some money to contribute to projects that we're contributing to, and that they can be quite a lot more significant, and they're even more difficult to predict. And what we have taken, and we will be taking in this next annual plan, the same approach, that we'll actually, if there's doubt, we'll actually push it out a financial year. And then when an opportunity like this arises where we get the project fast enough, we can actually come back to you and ask whether you're prepared to bring any of that money back in. And so you can actually make conscious choices about that. And if we thought that was going to put us in a position where we were going to be having overall expenditure more than we'd anticipated, we could signal that to you at that time. That's definitely not the case today.
Thank you. Right. Did you have a further question, Councillor Ward?
Thank you for your report. What is the process with Kiwi Rail? You mentioned that, I'm not quite understand why you have to have so much discussion with Kiwi Rail when I see that we're already have access across, but maybe the access, is it because the access across Kiwi Rail is going to be advanced a few hundred metres north? Is that why you have to have discussions with you?
So Kiwi Rail are an interesting organisation to deal with. They have their very firm and clear processes which take considerable amounts of time. And as a staff level, they're embarrassed about how long it takes. But that is our reality that we're dealing with. It's not the only organisation in the country that takes a long time around its processes, but that's our reality of dealing with that partner. We are the Lineside Road crossing is proposed to change, not that much in terms of where it crosses, but it's quite a significant squaring up and upgrade to literally the bells and whistles. So the process goes through. There's a whole design process for them in terms of the way they do their signalling and the way it ripples through the rest of the network. And so the process is for them what it is, and we need to follow that process. And unfortunately, it is the warning bells around how long it takes. So therefore, doing the work earlier obviously de-risks that for us quite a lot.
No, that's good. And so you're happy that you can complete what you want to achieve by February so that we can get the application to NZTA once we approve it in February?
Yeah, so we're making good progress with what that looks like.
That's
so,
great.
Yep.
Thank you. Alrighty, I think that's all for now, but I'm happy to move when
You're signalling you would like to move, Councillor.
Yes,
I shall
thank
come.
you.
I
Yes.
shall. What a
There might be some
surprise! What a surprise! I shall come back to you
okay.
shortly. Was it Councillor Redmond? Deputy Mayor Redmond, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report, Rob. In paragraph 6.3, you itemise 4 risks arising from this report and the recommendations. Are you able to elaborate a little on those risks?
So these risks are the affordability of the project, the impact on securing co-funding, the time frame for NZTA decisions, and the potential impacts of mana whenua values on some of the scope changes. These are the 4 risks that you're referring to.
Yes, correct. I just wondered if you could elaborate a little on those.
So the first one is about affordability of the project, and I think the process that we're going through now in terms of developing the concept design and going through the rigour of early contractor involvement and other things to ensure that we're delivering the most affordable design that delivers the transport benefits that the project promises. So there's always a question around is it affordable and is it cost effective? And that flows to the second risk, or actually to re-answer that one around the affordability. That's why we brought forward doing the concept design now in parallel with the business case to ensure that we nail down those risks and deliver what is what we might term the minimum viable product. So the impact on securing co-funding, of course, is very much related to that. NZTA work across a number of different investment parameters in their investment prioritisation method, IPM. One of the major ones, those, is the benefit cost ratio, so the benefits divided by the costs. The more expensive a project is, the lower the ratio is, and we need it to be high enough to meet their requirements. Now, we're well in that ballpark, so we're okay with that, but it's a risk that if we don't manage those costs wisely and ensure that we're still delivering the benefits, then we might fall out of that band. The third one is around the time frame. So if depending on the cost of the project, it will either be dealt with at a regional level where their turnaround is 35 working days, or if it goes above some of their thresholds in either risk or cost, then it's considered at the national board level, and therefore that takes simply a greater time frame. And then the final one there, the potential impact of mana whenua values on some of the scope changes. So we are looking at options around culverting versus bridging, around diversion of waterways and things like that, in order to create the most efficient and risk-free project. And that has environmental consequences, as you'd imagine, around moving waterways. There's ways to mitigate that, and so we're working through all those options to ensure that we have both a cost-efficient but as lower risk as well, and deliver the transport outcomes, but also deliver the environmental outcomes well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor McLaren first, then Fulton.
Thank you, Rob. Given the complexities of the project, completely support the idea of getting this particular recommendation advanced as quickly as possible, but is there a risk that we may not have enough certainty around the risks, for example, the geotech considerations, and that there might be some nasty surprises further down the track once further investigations are undertaken?
Yeah, so that was one of the high risk items at the start of this project, around the uncertainty around geotech. So we already know, and I've dug a few holes around this area before in my life. In some areas the groundwater is very high. There's some peat layers in the northern part of the section, but the ground's better in the southern part, which is great. So we've done quite a lot of, we dug, I can't remember how many trial pits and boreholes and CPTs and all the rest of it, and had the geotech team do quite an extensive investigation. We've got piezometers in there, so it's measuring the groundwater ongoing there. In fact, the batteries ran out the other day. I've got to go and replace them. And so we have an ongoing program to test that. We've also done some further soil contamination and coal tar testing for exactly the reasons why you said. So we minimise, we can never remove, but we minimise the risk of those nasty surprises.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the value engineering, is it the term that we're undertaking at the moment, where we're also working with a contractor to just fact check some of the on-ground aspects, as Councillor McLaren just asked? Is that the sort of work you're looking at?
That's exactly right. So we've got BG Contracting assisting us as a
Excuse me, can I just ask the public gallery, I can hear you from here, so if you're going to have a conversation, Rachel, there, please exit the chamber. Understood? Thank you.
So we've got BG Contracting providing some services to us, so they'll be independently doing a cost estimate of the schedule of quantities that's been prepared by the designer. So we have multiple sources of where those cost estimates come. The key thing that we've been working with BG's on is in terms of the earthworks strategy. There is obviously, because it's a long road and basically a road is full of earth of different types, there's a lot of the earthwork strategy is really, really important about what we do with the material we dig out, as well as where we get the material that we bring onto the site from. So that's the process that we're working through and will continue working through over the next little while to make sure that we have a robust and cost-effective and minimise some of those risks as well.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Rob and Tom. Is the general consultation with landowners in the immediate community, is that a separate process to this? I mean, how are we keeping the Spark family and others in tune with where we're up to? Is it a separate thing, or we just...
So we have, with the Spark family in particular, I can't remember the frequency, whether it's fortnightly or monthly at the moment, but we have a regular ongoing meeting with them. This is about the broader development as REL as a core part of that discussion. Jeff and I are also in constant communications about a variety of matters. We've also had a number of discussions with the neighbours around Marsh Road and Dunlops Road as well, and once we work through a little bit of the next stage of this design process, we'll be in a position to go back and talk to them again.
Thank you. Any further questions? So we have a series of recommendations. Councillor Ward indicated she will move. Seconded Councillor McLaren. Shall I speak, Councillor Ward?
Thank you. This is really, really important, this project for Rangiora. It was planned to start in 2000. It's now 2025. We have very big growth in eastern Rangiora, which is growing even further. Belgrove are into stage 2, and they've got stage 3, so within the next 2 or 3 years, there's going to be another 500 or 600 homes built there, already 800 there. Congestion in Southbrook is not, what can I say, any day of the week, at certain times of the day, delays up to quarter of an hour, 20 minutes getting through a kilometre of that area. Not good for for the retail business in Southbrook. It affects them because people don't go to Pack and Save at certain times, or down to Mafetia, or anywhere at certain times of the day because of the congestion. And so that this Eastern Link Road will alleviate all that pressure. It will still be a very busy road. So it's really important that we keep moving on this, that we do not delay. And I know that affordability is really not negotiable in this stage, because the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. It's already costing a lot more than it would have cost in 2000 or even earlier. So it's something that we need to absolutely do. I think that Rob and Don and Jared, you know, we have a great team. You've done an amazing job in this last year that you've been assigned to get this underway. So thank you so much for all the hard work and your negotiations. We're in the best hands, and it's up to us as councillors to make sure that we support you and that we get this job done, because I know that it's going to take a while, probably another 18 months or 2 years, you said, to actually start, before we start construction. How long is construction going to take? Another 2 years? 4 years away? Gosh, just think where we're going to be in 4 years' time. So if we delay any further and we don't keep pushing ahead and getting this underway and getting this progress, it's going to really compound in the efficiencies and in the ability for the people who want to come to Rangiora and to live and work out of Rangiora. Is going to affect their lifestyles greatly, even more so. So I say to everybody that we just need to be all guns blazing. We need to move on. We need to get this done. So thank you for your work, and I hope that you will support this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor.
No surprise that there wasn't much left to comment on there. Thank you, Councillor Ward. But I will just acknowledge that this report primarily relates to the NZTA funding, which is critical to the success of this project, and echo all of the sentiments from Councillor Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm also going to support the report. It makes sense, the additional expenditure to undertake the extra work to get our concept design through to the next stage with NZTA. This is a critical investment for our district, absolutely, and I endorse Councillor Ward's remarks, but it is dependent on us achieving NZTA investment. That's the endorsement we have in our long-term plan to date. Anything outside of that would require us to have a further consultation with our community. So I'm really keen that we get as much information, the value engineering undertaken, so that when we put our case forward, hopefully in February, that's the best case that we put forward. We have 26,000 vehicle movements a day through Southbrook. Any one of us, as Councillor Ward indicates, know how difficult it is at various times to access, and it's not just during the week. Try to get down to Pack and Save or to Mitre 10 at the weekend, on the Saturday in particular, and you have to pick your time because of the congestion that occurs through there. So it's a very important investment that we make, and I definitely support us bringing it forward, this additional budget, so that we get the job done. I'd also like to see us undertake and get ready for February a bit of a comms plan, letters ready to go to the Minister and to our local MPs to support our case for investment. This is election year next year. Let's make the most of it. This is a really important project for this district. In some ways, I'm not saying William Bypass isn't an important project, because it is. That's a committed project, and so we need this level of commitment. I've brought through the chair of NZTA, supported with also the then Transport Minister, so that there is a lot of visibility around this project and trying to make sure it's on the agenda. So I know our local MP is aware of it. From comments, seems to be very supportive. So we need to make sure we capitalise on that, because this is a really one that we really would like to see committed for here, especially a growth district like our own. The next project I'd really like to see addressed is the Skew Bridge, that I think is also critical. To address congestion is not just one route. There are several routes, and we've got an entire plan of investment which Joanne and the comms team put together, which shows that coordinated picture of all the projects that we need to see ticked off in order to address the growth that we're experiencing here. So hopefully we'll put our best case forward, and I acknowledge the comments that the team, in this instance led by Rob, thank you, are doing an exceptional job to make sure that we get this job done. So let's get on with the next phase and get the approval ready to go to NZTA with the best business case that we can mount. So thank you, team. Shona, Councillor Powell.
Just very quickly, I'd certainly like to support this project and endorse what the Mayor is saying in terms of that it is a district, it has impacts district-wide, and our projects have to be coordinated, which this is part of that coordinated plan. Councillor Ward spoke about the impact on Southbrook, which is real. There is also an impact on other parts of the district that we cannot underestimate. We have traffic diverting through Tuahiwi, we have traffic diverting up through Wood End. All of these projects, the Wood End Bypass, Skew Bridge, the Rangiora Eastern Link, they're all part of a coordinated approach, and that's what we actually have to sell, I think, to get this across the line. So I'd like to thank staff for the report and all the work that they have done, and yes, I'll be supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Powell. I've got Councillor Mealings. Did you indicate Councillor Fulton? Yes. Yes, sorry, Councillor Mealings, that's right, yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Look, this report and the actions being recommended here are foundational. It's crucial that we get the concept right so that we can attract the funding, so that we can get the job done. Our district is growing at a rapid rate. The Greater Christchurch is the fastest growing area in the country right now, and our council is one of the fastest growing TAs in the country. And looking at what we've got coming on stream with our district plan, all of the development that is going to be enabled in that side of Rangiora, it does have a flow-on effect throughout the district, as Councillor Powell just pointed out. And it is absolutely crucial that we get this right so that we grow well. We want to continue to be a place that people want to live and work. And this is really important to make sure that they don't associate living in waimakariri with living with gridlock. We need to get it right. We've got the opportunity right now to, we have the vision, and we need to actually get those steps undertaken so that we can make it a reality and have the place that we plan for, that we want to live in. So first things first, if we don't get the concept right, we don't get the funding, we don't get the road. So go well, get it done.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There's a key phrase in there for me, which was the value engineering. We already heard that about in relation to a recent report. But from what my light but growing understanding of value engineering is about these are adaptable and responsive to not just to budgets, but to, say, environmental consideration, community expectations, all that sort of stuff. That you can start with your big plan, but it might need to be brought back and squeezed and nudged along a little bit. So it sounds to me like there's a lot of this work has already been done. And I would like to see, not just from an environmental point of view, but a community point of view, that we have as much of a light touch here as we can, particularly like stream crossings and wetlands and things, because this is just such a sensitive area. It really is. And I think I heard some feedback the other day, but generally it's not a criticism of NZTA and Waka Kotahi, but when they build it, often they build it to the nth degree. Sometimes it's you could even say it's over-engineered, that these things are, designed to last 100 years, and they, it's like, so in our discussions, we might need to pull things back for budget reasons. And if NZTA are on board, they sound like a very enthusiastic bunch once you've got them on board. But, so look, it'd be great if we can put forward this work, go to them, and I've no doubt that we absolutely need this to be done. It needs to fit into the rest of our transport network, but that if we can find a light touch that this thing actually does its job without being engineered the hell out of for millions and millions extra, then let's try and do it. Yeah, thank you. I support the report, by the way, just after those comments.
Thanks, Councillor Fulton. I think we picked that up. Deputy Mayor Redmond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The movers' passion for this project is very apparent. However, this is a project that's not without risk, as staff have indicated, so it's not yet a fait accompli, but it is another step forward, and that does have my support for the recommendations. We're moving forward cautiously, which I think is the right approach, and as a colleague alluded to, it is part of a wider network puzzle, which includes Townsend Road, Skew Bridge and other linkages. So we do need to look at it on a district basis. So I'm more than happy to support this further step in what probably is going to be a long journey. Thank you.
Not too long.
Any further speakers? Right reply, Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Just following on from Deputy Mayor Redmond's comments, Townsend Road, Skew Bridge and that whole network that we need to achieve is already in the national, I believe, the National Long Road Long-Term Plan structure. So it's in there waiting to be hopefully recognised and supported by NZTA in the long term. But I have to say that I think James Cable's coming up next Tuesday to see us, is he? I think he's due here next Tuesday. So look out, James, we'll be right there. So we'll tell him about the progress that we're making, and we'll say February, he needs total dedication from him for us. And please give it post haste, fast tracking for support. So that's what we'll be saying next week.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Barshall, I know you're there online. If you want to grab my attention or our attention, just put the hand up function there in case you'd like to speak. So just to indicate. All right, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you, team. I should have mentioned at the start of an acknowledgements was the Christmas Tree Festival and just how special it makes our building. It's so lovely to see schools and community groups coming through and to see that cheer that it brings. And of course this weekend Father Christmas comes to town, both in Rangiora and Kaipoi. My understanding is that Father Christmas will be in our foyer. So Councillor Ward, you could go and ask Father Christmas to bring you a Rangiora Eastern Link.
Do you want me to sit on his knee?
It's up to you. Up to you. But anyway, if it gets the job done, let's all go and see Father Christmas. Righto. All right. Okay. I jest. The next item is Council submission to Central Government consultations for September and October. Sylvia, hello, welcome.
Good morning. I'll take this report as read. These submissions were prepared on behalf of the Council at the end of the last term, and as per our informal agreement received earlier in the year, these are now in front of you for that final reporting and endorsement. I'd probably like to highlight recommendation E. So since this report was prepared, central government has now released some of those proposals for consultation, and I just want to assure the council that staff are working on that, and we have plans in place to come and have workshops with the council on these proposals.
Thank you. Should just indicate as well that last week there was, as you can imagine, quite a lot of discussion at Mayoral Forum on Friday around all the changes that have been announced. So at some stage pre-Christmas, if we can, or certainly post, I'd like to bring the council together for a conversation on those particular matters. So when I'm representing you at various discussions, I have a mandate to do so on what the council's view may be on not only future of Environment Canterbury and governance arrangements as of yesterday, we've got RM reform, which you've indicated, which I think will be quite an important one for us to understand how that all interrelates. Then there's rates capping that was announced yesterday. So I'm not making, I haven't made, I've been very careful in my public comments, because until we understand how it all interrelates, it's very difficult to have a formal opinion on it. So I have just said that we've maintained an open mind, and we'll just read and understand how that affects us here, and how best we represent. It's not our own opinions, but what's best for our community in that space. So I'd just like to acknowledge Sylvia and the team. There's a huge workload here with a train coming at us at 1,000,000 miles an hour with all the change that's proposed. So everything getting dumped pre-Christmas. We were told in Wellington, weren't we, a tsunami was coming at us. I wasn't quite aware it was at this level. So thank you to Sylvia and the team for what you're doing to make sure that summaries are provided and that the understanding's there, so we're well briefed so we can make the right decisions here. Questions of colleagues? There's a recommendation. Some appear to move. You want to move? You have moved. Councillor Ward, seconded the Deputy Mayor. So would you like to speak?
I just want to say how lucky we are to have Sylvia leading a team that have been under immense pressure this year. What is this? This is about number 31, is it, so far this year, or more?
Something like that.
Submissions to central government. A lot of work that you're doing for us, and doing really, really well in communicating back to us and keeping us informed. So thank you so much to you and your team. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Just briefly, as the Mayor has indicated, this is part of the tsunami of reforms. We seem to be becoming the whipping boy in terms of local government and reforms, having things done to us. But one of the things that does stand out is the quality of submissions, which we have been making, and which you and your team made in our absence when we're all on holiday campaigning to get back here. So you've done a very good job. One of the things I wondered about this is some of these changes could very well apply to members of Parliament. And I'm referring to the Code of Conduct, where members of the public could potentially make complaints about elected members, and that's dealt with through a Code of Conduct process. But that was something we didn't support, and you've picked that up in your submission very well. So I'm more than happy to support the recommendation, and thank you again for your work.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Fulson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one of the particular submissions pointed is on the Code of Conduct, and I think I understand 3.1. We're talking about the risks pertaining to a chief executive and the potential, perceptions that they're too close to elected members when they're making determinations, and the need to have someone separate. Can we make it sort of clear that actually that we are referring to the system of local government and the role of a chief executive generically, Is that what we're intending to do? We're not actually reflecting on our own experiences or our own processes. Is that right? Because I just don't want it to be sort of inferred that we're personalising it to, to white WDC. We are actually talking about the role of a chief executive in local government generally.
That's as I recall how it was written.
Yeah, I
So
know I'm not.
no reflection on our own.
It's not a reflection on our own staff, our own systems, our own, WDC. It's not reflecting our own experience, I suppose I'm saying that. Maybe it's stating the obvious, but I just thought it's, could be misinterpreted,
And that point was made, as I recall it, through there, it was generic around the process.
The system of local.
Not reflecting on our council at all.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further speakers? Right to reply if you wish, Councillor Ward.
No, that's fine, thank you.
I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. And just to pass on to your team, Sylvia, our thanks for the high workload that they're under and the quality of submissions as was rightly observed through the various speakers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are you remaining here with Diana for the next one?
Yes,
Diana, which is 8.3. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr Mayor and councillors. I am here to recommend that the council adopts receives the report and adopts the Community Board submissions on resource management matters policy. I will take the report as read, and I would like to highlight recommendation D. We presented the policy at an all boards workshop on the 23rd of July, and we received substantial feedback, and we integrated that feedback into the policy. Any questions?
So what was that feedback predominantly?
The predominant feedback
And what did we
was,
change as a result? Yeah.
there were no major changes. It was more aligning the way we worded it to make it more understandable, and also to better enable community boards to pursue further than the initial hearing if they had express permission from the executive.
Just on the all boards process as opposed to going to the individual boards, why did we adopt that process? This was some time ago now, so just recall what the reason for that is, and why would we not go to the boards and ask their individual feedback? I'm just interested to know why we adopted that process as opposed to individual boards.
The decision was made to go to all boards because we didn't want to, with the timings, we were going to be struggling to get through all of the individual boards in a very timely manner. So some boards would hear about it substantially before others, and we wanted to give everybody the information at the same time, and then leave them or give them the opportunity to provide me feedback as they felt necessary over a couple of weeks following the meeting.
Just further, Mr Mayor, if I may, I think there was a value in also having the boards talking about the policy at the same time together, so they might be able to share and think about whether the ideas were consistent across them. It gave us an ability to clear that up as well, to make sure that those views were shared across boards as opposed to being an individual board view. And just on those changes that we did make from the all boards meeting, I think Diana's captured the sort of what we call the exemptions part of that, but there was also, I think, a desire to see unused funds carried over as part of a normal carryovers process that council would approve annually as well. So we just include that and made that a little bit more clear within the policy as well.
Thank you. Just be helpful in future when we that these are coming back, that we see a summary of that, because without some time ago, I can't recall we may or may not been present at the time, but this is quite a big policy area, and to make sure it's right, especially with some of our boards that utilise this process. So I was just wanting to understand what the respective changes that were made were. Thank you. I have Councillor Redmond who's indicated a question. Thank you.
Thank you. Just turning to page 257 in Diligent, paragraph 4.5 in the policy, it says each board can apply for a maximum of $10,000 per RMA consent application. My recollection was that the $40,000 was in a pool and we hadn't actually limited it by board. Are you able to comment on where the 10,000 limit is?
The 10,000 limit is per RMA consent. So one board could apply 4 times for 4 different consents, or each board could apply once for 1 consent, or you could have 2 boards that are doing 2 consents each. Does that? So it's related to the consent rather than to the board.
So who makes the decision on an exemption?
The exemptions process, that would be through the council.
Where does it just make?
Paragraph 4.
So it comes to 4.15, right? Yeah.
So each board is limited to $10,000 per RMA consent.
Yes.
They can apply more than once if there are 2 or 3 consents.
Correct.
Right. Okay, maybe it could be clarified, but I get what you're saying. Thank you.
Simon.
I guess the primary reason is it's hard to anticipate where those consents might come from, and limiting it by board might limit a particular board's ability to respond to 2 very, very important or 3 very, very important district level kind of consents, but within a particular area. So I think we've tried to allow some flexibility in that respect. But potentially assessment of those as they come through will be helpful in that as well.
Councillor Mannings.
Thank you. So my understanding is that we get about 250 to 300 applications a year, and about 2 to 3 of those will go to a hearing every year. And out of those, of course, there may or may not be contentious ones that community boards may wish to get involved in on behalf of their communities. Does this fund that we've got, I'm not sure where we landed with that, does it roll over from year to year? Because of course it can be, as we've noticed, it's feast or famine. We either got everybody coming all at once, or it's all quiet on the Western Front for a while. God, I hope that moment is coming soon.
Yes, there is the ability for the funds to be rolled over. It goes through the standard council process where funds are rolled over from year to year.
So essentially that would come through a council process where council can approve if they want to roll it over. We do carryovers process, and you get to see what that looks like.
So this is essentially, what we have set up here is a contestable fund for community boards, really. Right. Thank you.
Councillor Keynes. Sorry, not Councillor Fulton. Sorry.
Moved.
I thought I saw a flinch, but it was actually Councillor Fulton.
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing. Thank you.
The bids with Councillor
Start
Fulton.
at $100.
Yeah.
No. Thank you. I wonder actually, just in light of recent national and local government developments for RMA processes and fast tracking removal of local authority powers and all this sort of stuff. We're still operating here in a submission process that belonged to like last month or 2 weeks ago, maybe even yesterday. But no, it just concerns me that if we haven't account, so is this process responsive to potentially having local authority powers being reduced or stripped away to the extent that what's the role of a community board, let alone, in relation to a council, in relation to a regional council? We could have some massive fast-track processes, couldn't we, coming through, and local boards are being allocated sort of discretionary budgets. So is this submission process that we're proposing here, do you think it's responsive to local government reforms, massive local government reforms, and RMA particularly? Are they empowered enough?
At the moment, you are correct. This is designed for what we think may come through with they still will be having a hearings panel. However, we know that the last possible date for the new natural environment and planning bill to be released for consultation will be the 18th of December. We will then assess that, and we may have to have another look at this policy once we understand better how that is going to be implemented and once that process is implemented.
So at the moment, our local community boards have that individual discretion per consent and as per a budget, but how is this responsive to a plan that's actually crosses borders, crosses territories, and affects all our community, or 2 or 3 of our community boards at once? I
guess, Tim, this is what we know right now.
Yeah.
And it's been through a process, and we'll just have to adjust as we go along if things do change soon. Just noting that the last government put in place RM reform, it never got over the line. This government was likely to propose RM reform. We'll have to see how quickly changes are implemented. Even with the rates capping, that's not till 2029. So there's sometimes a long lead-in time to that, but we may well have to review that, as Diana said, sooner rather than later. But what's proposed here is what we know right at the moment. Okay. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the policy. Just on the back of Tim's question, 4.5, could the wording of each board can apply for a maximum of $10,000 per RMA consent application? If it's along the borders of a boundary, does that technically mean that 2 boards could apply for $20,000 funding for 1 consent application?
There is something...
It's in the policy, isn't it? Yeah.
It is in the policy that boards can do a joint application, but I know it's in here, but I cannot for the life of me see the paragraph it's at. But yes, boards can do it. Each application will come to the community board governance group, and so if there are 2 applications at the same time, conversations will be had with the community board to ensure best use of fund, and you are likely to suggest that is it best to work together. So yeah, we won't be trying to throw crazy money at one with the potential to not have enough for something else that comes up.
I actually wonder whether it would be helpful to have the chair of DPNR or the portfolio holder involved in that conversation, because it's putting a lot of onus on staff to be making that call, whereas it could have the portfolio holder there as could be the tiebreaker, so to speak, or provide that input from a governance perspective. I wonder whether that could be considered.
We can make a small wording adjustment. I think in 4.5 and 4.6 there is some discussion about that multi-board submission process. It talks about there being collective submissions being able to be made. And then in 4.6 it talks about sort of the process for applications, and we can tidy that up a little bit to reflect that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, is the portfolio holder happy with that suggestion? Yes, sorry, I'm sorry, it's changed, yes, of course. Are you comfortable with that suggestion?
Yes.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Goldsworthy, any further questions?
That's all.
Sorry, I'm living in the past too, pardon me. I'll get back into the present. Any further questions? So with that adjustment, someone prepared to move? Moved, Councillor Redmond, seconded, Councillor Fulton. Do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, it's been a good discussion. I think Councillor Mealings referred to it being a contestable fund, which to some degree it is. I'm happy with the proposed change of wording, possibly in 4.5 to include the portfolio holder. I think it's a very good attempt to deal with what is a complex area with 101 different possibilities, and we've tried to strike a balance, and I think staff with this policy have listened to what elected members wanted, and you've managed to capture it very well in the policy, so I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you.
Councillor Fulton, seconded.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that's this is good discussion here, and my colleagues have made some good extra points about some of these issues and challenges do cross our community board boundaries, and we're so to have some discretion to have elected member input and guidance in making those tricky decisions where how best we use our budget and how best we use to work together. I think that's really valuable in this. Yeah, just dealing in the lay of the land and currently in the local government, I think this is responsive enough to what we have in front of us. And yeah, thanks for the input from the policy team on this, and I'm happy to support the recommendations.
Councillor Meadows.
Thank you. No, it's good to have this policy here that puts a bit of structure into what has up to this point been a bit ad hoc, and we appreciate that you've workshopped this with the community boards and council, and that we're still sort of, I guess, working through the last iteration of it, and being that RMA reform is what it is, I expect this to be a movable feast at any point, or at least the goalposts seem to be racing down the road just when we think we've got it sorted. But it is really important that our communities do have a voice. Yes, council is supposed to be neutral on these things. However, community boards represent their community, and to be able to make sure that our community has a voice that is resourced through the board and with people that actually have an understanding of the process, because RM processes, even the one that we're working with right now, with the RMA that's been in place for a long time, that's a mystery wrapped up in an enigma for most people. So to actually have the support of a community board that has support of people that understand what it is that we're working through and who we're working with, and what the matters at play are, is really important. And to put some funding towards that, where it's generally out of reach of your average ma and pa to go up against the giants. And we do have some that have stepped up, and it's just a really important thing for us to be able to step into the gap for our communities and advocate for them, because that is the job of our community board. So thank you for this, and as you can tell, I support this recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, and I support the recommendation that's here in the report. We did workshop some time ago, especially as we were having a number of applications come from our boards with the respective challenges that we face on so many different fronts. That seriously compromises our district. And I think of particular applications for things that are just completely inappropriate for our environment, like landfill applications, which should not be being considered here. I don't have a problem with quarrying in the right locations, but landfills in this district are just not appropriate. And they're going through the processes that they are now. And unfortunately, the way the RMA is presently and resource management law is that it builds it down to such a point that it narrows it to such a small number of issues that makes those things, unfortunately, perhaps more palatable from a legal sense than it should in an ideal world. That's why we put Kate Valley in place. And I really want to commend Sarah Barkle and the team in Oxford, Rangiora, who's doing their work with so that's the Woodstock, and then we've got the White Rock proposal as well. And these processes where they're manipulated through legal aspects, unfortunately. Look, it is the law, but I'm just not going to say I agree with it because they're not where they need to be in terms of what our community sees as priorities and our pristine environment that we have. Sarah Barkle and the team up here have done an amazing job. In fact, Sarah's become almost like a lawyer with the work that she's been doing and representing and keeping the cost down. We had to put a cap on this because it was hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're spending of ratepayer money through legal process. Using planners as opposed to lawyers may require legal advice from time to time. It's looked at a case-by-case basis, but the effort comes to make sure that the community voice is not lost in process. Look, I have an open mind while we've got a cap on it. If there are things that we think are completely inappropriate for our area, then I would be certainly open-minded to topping the funds up on a case-by-case basis where it needs to be, because sometimes there are things like Hoka plan changes, for instance, and matters like that where we've needed to put further investment in to try and defeat things, again, that are not appropriate for our area. So it's a difficult area, and putting a cap in place and a contestable fund has been put as the right process. But we'll just have to see how that goes. And thank you, Councillor Mealings, for agreeing to be part of that. I think it just makes sure that the elected voice in that process isn't lost. But again, to acknowledge the boards and all the work that they put in, because submission processes, while we're putting allowances in, does not indicate at all the level of cost when you think of the hours and hours that go into making sure that the research is there and the advocacy occurs and it far outstrips any remuneration that they receive. So our boards need a real acknowledgement here to thank them for the work that they do on behalf of our communities. All right, any further speakers? Right of reply? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare it carried. Thank you. And Sarah, we might try and take your next two reports and then the board's minutes before we break for morning tea.
We are anticipating the board chairs coming soon.
Oh, okay, righto. I wasn't aware of that. So they are coming in. Excellent. Right, we'll deal with hopefully 8.4 and 8.5 and then we'll break.
Okay. So the Remuneration Authority every July June, July make their adjustments on various aspects, and we are required to update our policy. We did bring a policy update in August to the council and make the necessary changes at that time, which was primarily mileage allowances. There was a clause in the Remuneration Authority's determination at that time that was to come into effect post-election, and that related to security aspects. And that is reflected on incidents around the country in the last 4, 5, 6 years, unfortunately. And so the Remuneration Authority deemed appropriate that councils consider a reimbursement aspect of security in certain circumstances. So we have incorporated that on page 268 of your diligent pack. That is the new aspect from the August previous policy. We have also taken the opportunity at this time just to have a brief look over the policy and made a couple of minor wording edits on page 265 of the policy. So otherwise, I'll take the report as read.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions? Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I note that there's a lot of onus on the Chief Executive to make an independent determination of the risk. Now, in any scenario, the Chief Executive himself may be actually, when this wrapped up in this environment, subject to the very same threats or what similar types of threats or something. How is the Chief Executive going to be seen to make it, in a heightened environment of security risk?
It's on a case-by-case basis.
You know what I mean, because it could be the same wider group of people who are causing problems for elected members, who are causing problems for the Chief Executive, and yet the Chief Executive has to make that sort of a cool and impartial decision. So, I don't know. That's just one thing.
A key element of this is if a member is feeling that there is such a risk elevated more than normal business, then we have an independent security consultant. They will actually do the risk assessment with their knowledge, and that report will go to the Chief Executive, and he will base his decision primarily on that report and any other information such as police feedback or their reporting as well will be considered. At the end of the day, it is also a reimbursement aspect, so it is still the onus is on the elected member at the time. If they choose to have security in place, then they apply back for any reimbursement of those costs, which are capped as per the determination. And just one other thing, that this policy, every time it is changed and signed off by the council, the policy actually goes back to the Remuneration Authority, and they close the loop on that they are also satisfied with everything, and if they have any queries, they do come back to us.
I think, Mr Mayor, you've anticipated my question, because it's the level of onus on the CEO for the sign-off, and the CEO must agree with the findings of this assessment. I just find, but thank you for that extra information.
Any further questions? Councillor Keynes?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing this report to us. In terms of reimbursement of an expense that has been paid by an elected member, how far does that go back potentially? Like, say, an elected member was feeling a threat maybe a year or so ago. Is this a reimbursement that's going to go back a year or 2 years?
This is for current stages from now going forward. And as we've all experienced over the last 3, 4, 5 years, those various threats can wax and wane over time, and with particular individuals and police actions as well. So we've still got all our normal protocols in place that we've discussed with members in the past, and we continue to work with the police and monitor certain situations on that.
Further question, Sarah, in terms of the assessment being made by a professional, is it based on historical events and not potentially the elected member feeling at risk? So it'd be more on historical, is that what you're saying?
It would be, at the moment, it would be any threats or perceived threats that you are feeling from this point going forward. If there is historic knowledge that also links, that is part of the overall assessment, and the security consultant would factor that in.
Thank you. Any further questions? Someone prepared to move the recommendation? Moved Councillor Powell, seconded Councillor Ward. do you wish to speak? Councillor Ward? Any further speakers? Councillor Fulton?
I do have a concern about this, in the extent to which there seems to be an onus on the person who's perceiving the risk to actually go through quite a process to actually, I mean, if there was any other kind of, and I'm not saying they're victims, well, they probably are, and then they have to actually deliver a report, they have to sort of make their case, they have to show a sufficient level of risk, then there's an independent assessment. I just wondered whether there's any room to slipstream this a little bit more, or I mean, if someone's feeling that frightened out of their wits, they're feeling frightened out of their wits. And I don't know, I just worry that there's a lot of extra stress and strain for the person who's actually the person who's the victim here.
I wonder whether, Sarah, there might be a
Can it be just sort of tidied up a bit? It feels to me like it's quite a process. It could be a subject that even
we have had risk workshops in the past, and there has been risk brought in. I think perhaps that, and working with Katrina and the team, and then see, I wonder whether there should be some level of, there was a discussion of where perhaps following that, whether there was some assessments there made. So I don't think we want to get into all that detail here today, because that's
ongoing care and those parts from the brick.
Take on board that, Sarah, and if you can work with Jeff on implementing some level of training here, a workshop, and then see what flows from there.
Certainly happy to do that. And as we always say, that if any member is feeling any of those threats or stresses in any way, please come and talk to either myself or to Jeff, and we will work through those matters on an individual case-by-case basis.
And as one who has been through the process of having real threats, it's not a pleasant time for your family, especially. So do take up that offer that's there, because reassurance and understanding is really important, I think, and making sure you feel safe and not feel in a vulnerable. No elected member should ever feel in a vulnerable situation, and there's been conversations right across the country where there's been unacceptable, and I mean unacceptable, behaviours exhibited by some members. Excuse me, Rachel. Excuse me. Rachel, I've asked you, can you please leave the chambers right now? You're not going to sit there and scoff at us through this, please. So I'm asking you to leave now. Can you leave? Otherwise, I'm just going to suspend the meeting. So until you leave. Right, I'm suspending the meeting. Thank you. Right, we can continue now. Thank you. It's a serious matter, and I'm not going to have it belittled. And the issues raised by Councillor Fulton are serious, and so it's a matter that should be given the consideration it's given. All right, you're in the middle of debate. Sarah, I support the policy, and thank you for what you've brought forward. It's in a full consideration of what's applicable and by way of the remuneration authority, but also noting various reimbursements there. So thank you for the work that's done to put it together, and the administration that then occurs by our governance team, and of course our chief executive, who is ultimately responsible there alongside yourself. All right, any further speakers? Right reply? Does who moved it? Councillor Phelps, that's right. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Right, we now come to elected members' pecuniary interest register, pages 272 to 281. Sarah.
This is a requirement under the Act for members to furnish information. They have been providing information to me over the last couple of weeks. So the attachment that is with this report has actually been further updated already. We will be getting more information from boards and their appointments over the coming days, and then we will put a version up on the website. It is a living document, so if any member's situation changes at any time through the year, we update immediately and keep that website as live and accurate as possible. And it is an annual thing, so we do come, going forward, it will be January of every year going forward.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Mealings?
Not so much a question of what this is, but just with regard to my own entry there, I'm not on the Waimakariri Biodiversity Trust, so it's a bit of a...
Okay, so
just
just need it.
correction there, thank you.
Do you have a question, Councillor Ford?
I suppose this is a question, is that why are some members' names highlighted in here and not others?
You're unique.
It's not a red flag or a black flag.
No, it's just the ones that we have received to date. There's still a few more to come in the next couple of days.
All right.
So all the councillors have submitted their forms.
All right. Any further questions? Got a recommendation? I'll move the recommendation, seconded by Councillor Cairns. Just to show that I don't take a bias towards one side. It was you, Councillor Cairns, wasn't it? Yeah. Not sure if it was a wiggle or a head in the air. Just to say, it's really important these registers are here. Clearly indicates exactly where we're appointed to organisations and where we're directors. In my case, there was a fair amount of misinformation being spread during the election period around my involvement with Waitaha Primary Health. For the record, I am the council's representative on there. The council was going through not the council, but Waitaha is going through a period of growth where it's been invited to take on responsibilities in South Canterbury and further afield. So in order to keep the interests of Waitaha's current enrolled population, it was necessary to separate out the various holdings, and I am the deputy chair of that. So in a legal sense, some bodies have been set up as in a holding sense in the interim. It's quite common legal practice. I'm not a financial beneficiary of this at all. I receive a minor director fee for board meeting fee for attendance at meetings. It's not at all an ownership of the North Canterbury Health Hub project. That is a completely separate matter that's got nothing to do with it. So just for the purposes of the record, any misinformation that was being spread around that was rubbish. And anyone that said that during that time, I did contact them individually to point out the facts that were, I think, being unfairly manipulated for a particular purpose. So anyway, I've got that off my chest. But just so if you know, for the record, that's how that is structured and why it's sitting there with that. It's not my idea, that's the lawyer's advice and the accountant's advice as to how best that's structured over that period of time as the new structure's embedded. Any further speakers? Councillor McLaren, do you wish to add anything?
Can I say?
Oh, sorry, as a second. I'm sorry, I got myself a bit confused there.
That's
Yes,
all right.
you may as a seconder.
It's the engagement brain kicking in, I think. This is an obligation as an elected member to be transparent, I suppose, and make clear as to what our interests are, and it's quite confronting, really, when you actually have to put all of your information out there into the public arena. At least, it's just an obligation that we have to do by law. And I hope you support this recommendation. Thank you.
I just want to note that this is just yet another document that has vital importance in ensuring the transparency of all the things we do. New Zealand is consistently recognised as the second least corrupt country in the world. Denmark usually pips us every year, and it largely goes to this transparency and availability of information that's out there. I signed the Official Secrets Act when I first joined the public service, which meant everything was absolutely not available to the public. The following year, the Official Information Act came in and completely reversed that. So having this information out there, yes, having to sit down and say, oh, crikey, here goes my interest. I absolutely understand and respect that this is important to ensure that transparency. And look, just yesterday, the conspiracy theorist came out and attacked me again for, you know, this apparent hidden behind closed doors nonsense. It just doesn't exist. And the more we can do to reassure the public that everything is above the board and done properly is definitely something we just need to constantly be aware of and on top of. The amount of information that's available to the public for the going on in Waimakariri district is phenomenal. The number of reports and the website and every other piece of information. So this is just one other piece of that puzzle and vitally important. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers responding to anything? So I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. And just so I can clear up something that was also being spread by conspiracy theorists, I'm not stepping down this term in favour of Councillor Redmond. You got that, Stephen? So I know you'd put it on your website, but it's rubbish. There's no way I'm stepping down this term, and God willing, I intend to serve the term fully. So any rubbish that's being put out there, because people are saying it to a number of colleagues, I'm sorry, Councillor Redmond, or you may not be sorry, but it's, and there's not some deal that Phil and I have hatched that 18 months down the track I'm going to change over, so it's just utter rubbish. So it really disturbs me, the level of rubbish that goes out there. If people just give me a call or email me, I could clear it up for them. So, but I'm elected to serve the full term, and I fully intend to. So just hope that's now in the public record and very clear. With that, we're going to break for a cup of tea break. So if we're back here at 11:15. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. I better put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you, everyone. We'll have a cup of tea break now.
That's right. Nikki and I didn't move any amendments.
That's why there's two
Yeah, well,
we have one former board chair.
Oh, it's cold in here.
Now come to the Community Board Chairperson's report. So firstly, for Oxford Ahoka is Tia, have we got board chairs here today, or I understand Sarah said that some planning to be here or may not be here?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, the only chair that, fortunately, the only chair that we have is Shona. Jim Gerard is detained with other Christmas building exercises, and Jackie is not feeling well. So, yeah, only Shona.
Why don't we just, so 8.6, do you want to lead, is there any comments you want to make on 8.6, which is Oxford Ahoka?
The only thing I want to advise is that in terms of the new term, we will now be starting to report back per financial year and not per calendar year anymore. But that is actually the only comment.
Okay, so is someone, Tim and Nikki, you happy to move? Do you wish to make any comment?
It's been a momentous year, and they've put an awful lot of work in. The community board's been very busy, and Sarah and Thomas have done an outstanding job on behalf of our community board and our community. So I just would really like to commend them for that. But
thank you.
Other than that, no.
Tim?
Yes, some similar flavour sort of comment, but particularly with the representation that Sarah and Thomas have given us in the last term and are now still giving us. I was able to just slip into the hearing for just a few hours, and Sarah happened to be talking at the time, and my goodness, she was impressive. Really she was, and it's a two-way process. She was getting questions back as good as she got, and she was on top of her brief. She wasn't flustered by the expert witnesses. Some of them were very well tuned to being sitting in that seat, and she kept asking, she kept questioning, and I think you can actually see some of the responses, even from the panel. They've picked up on the points the community board have made, so it's really impressive. So they've done really well. So endorse this report as well.
I would just, with the reference to Sarah, she is not just any lay witness. She's actually got a degree in geology, and the fact that she's actually speaking at a hearing about a quarry and landfill, I think it's been really useful having her there. So we're very, very fortunate.
Yeah, I endorse those comments because Sarah has, and both Thomas have put an enormous amount of effort into various submissions on a variety of different topics in the board area, and I'm aware of the effort that she put in, especially at the last hearing, because I did say to her, we were chatting and she was giving me an update, and I said to her, have you thought about doing a law degree? Because that degree of advocacy, she would be amazing. So anyway, we're very fortunate to have the leadership we do, but also the members of the board too. So just to acknowledge their efforts. So any further speakers? Put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. And if who knows where that process ends up, but they've done all that they can, our board and community at this point. Okay, 8.7, Kaiapoi Tuahiwi Community Board, Jackie's report. It was indicated she's unable to be here. Philip, you prepared to move? Seconded by, I'll go with Brent if he's going to. Sorry, Bruce, it's just a board area. Did you wish to speak, Phil or Brent?
No, just to say it's a good report. I wasn't a member of KTCB during this period, but I attended their meetings and was one of the ward councillors. So it appears unfortunate that Jackie can't be here this morning, but I take the opportunity to wish her, the old board and the new board, best wishes for Christmas and going forward.
Thank you. Brent, do you want to add?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, it just shows the importance of our local community boards and the amount of work that they actually conduct on our behalf or on the community's behalf. And I also commend the amount of work that the governance team and the council teams do in support of the community boards. It's admirable, and yeah, it's great to see the amount of work that's actually been done. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Just endorse those remarks briefly and just say it's all the other other projects, and you look at them, they're listed there. I know Jackie's very generous with her time that she gives to various groups as our board members, but in particular the bridge project and lighting project, the art and sculpture throughout Kaiapoi, and the beautiful one that sits in the Silver Stream there. There's, you know, Kaiapoi's looking amazing, and it's due to the hard work that goes in Kaiapoi Tuahiwi by all the board members there, but in particular the chair, so to acknowledge Jackie for that. It's just board members, is Jackie's continuing, what was the outcome of the board election there?
So Jackie is continuing as chair, and then you've got two deputy chairs, haven't you? Phil? Is that right?
No. Jackie is continuing as chair for the first 18 months, whereupon Russell Keatley will assume the chair, and I think Henrietta becomes deputy chair in 18 months' time. In the meantime, Russell Keatley is the deputy chair.
Okay. Thank you. And so with that, unless there's any further speakers, I'll put the report, 8.7, all those in favour please say aye. Contrary declare that carried. Just Oxford Ahoka, what was the outcome? Sarah's the chair? Who's the deputy? Okay. So no split this year. Okay. 8.8, Randy Ashley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim asked me just to acknowledge the board members that has retired for the service during numerous terms in the case of Murray Clark and for Monique and Ivan Campbell. He also asked me to acknowledge and thank you personally and the councillors for their continued support and the council staff for their assistance during the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Bruce, you prepared to make seconded Joan? Do you wish to speak, Bruce?
Actually, probably not. The report is really accurate and does reflect the significant amount of work undertaken, and many of the comments that are made in relation to other community boards are applicable here. That I am impressed at the level of delegation and trust that's put into community board members, especially when I travel around the country and talk with people who are either on community boards or have formerly been on community boards in other parts of the country where they don't have that level of trust and relationship with councillors or council staff and feel somewhat marginalised. Always happy to return to this district. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
I just also want to add, Monique Fleming has stepped down from Community Board. She'll be sadly missed. She goes back to 2008 with me with the pool, and she has been a tireless, wonderful supporter of our district. And Shona, you will have acknowledged that as well with the accessible access group. So she just quietly gets in there and supports them, and she's a real little mover and shaker and a doer, and we'll miss her very much. So just want to acknowledge her efforts as well.
Thank you, Brent.
I'd also like to acknowledge Monique. She is definitely one of those quiet achievers. It relates to Northbrook Reserve Food Forest that was set up just over a month ago, and it was just extraordinary the amount of people that became involved in that small little project, and the community just came together, and it was all because of Monique, Liz, and the likes of yourself, Councillor Ward, that all came together. What amazes me is it's continuing that particular project because there's now a watering system being developed by one of the local residents where somebody gets on a bike, pedals, and it takes the water from the stream and actually waters all of the fruit trees. It is just extraordinary, and that's just not possible to actually put those sort of projects together without community coming together. And if it wasn't for the community board to actually start that process, it wouldn't have got off the ground. So congratulations, community board, and the work that they do.
And can I just add that there is a working group there on Saturday morning from 10 o'clock. You're all welcome to come and help us do some more.
Mr. Bentley.
And just on the kudos to Monique vein, she also is a frequent flyer at the now reconstituted, rejuvenated working group at Matawai Park. So, you know, that she gets around, and it's really great to see such a community-minded person out working in the community, and she will be very much missed.
Just acknowledge Jim's kind remarks and reflections on the council, but equally to acknowledge and thank him for his many, many years of service, not only this community board, but also councillor and of course mayor. I realise he stepped down as chair now. He stepped into the role of deputy, but last term there was a pretty big load on the chair there, as there has been on all our boards, but not only with White Rock application, but also with Rangiora Racecourse the term before. Jim's political skills are second to none. He's an amazing man, and we've been lucky to have him in that role, but see him continue on the board. But to acknowledge the comments that colleagues have, reflections have been made on others there. Really great to see Liz step up to chair. She'll do a great job there. She's an experienced chair, having been chair of Southbrook School as well. She's got a great skill and a lot of fun. I love her. I love her laugh and sense of humour. It's very infectious. All right. Any further comments? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. And 8.9, William Sefton, we can ask you if you wish to step back in time briefly there, Shona.
It feels a long time ago that I wrote this, yes. And I thank Tia for saying that the reporting year is actually going to change to the financial year, which will make it easier for community board chairs reporting. It has always been a bit problematic in terms of timing, trying to do it in a calendar year, as it were. So that's a good move. A lot of the projects for the Woody and Sefton Community Board, so we achieved a lot in the last year. But a lot of projects which had been on the books for some time. So it was good to see a lot of those projects ticked off. And yeah, I mean, I look at one there of the, you know, we finally got the buses to deviate into the Ravenswood commercial area. I won't tell you how many years that took. At one point, ECAN was telling us it was going to cost $1 million to deviate 300 metres off the route, but could never provide any information about why it was going to cost $1 million. So it's good for that, but we have certainly, the board has certainly left a lot of ongoing projects for the incoming board. The youth space is continuing. Sort of the decision has been made around what, the where is still to be decided. The Woody and Beach domain, which is going to be wonderful if anybody's ever been to the toilets at Woody and Beach or has actually managed to find the toilets at Woody and Beach. Of course, the Woody and Pegasus area plan, which has been put on hold with the bypass, whether the bypass was going ahead or not. So that's good. Now we just have to wait for the tolling decision. And yes, Waikiki Beach around what happens there. But I would certainly like to acknowledge we had 2 retiring members, Ian Fong, who served 1 term, and Rhonda Mather, who served 2 terms, not consecutively. She bounced back and certainly has not ruled out ever coming back again, so watch out. Rhonda is what she isn't involved in. I remember our last meeting of the term, and we had 9 reports. We had a very full agenda, and they were meaty reports. And she turned up, and her agenda was just, there was post-it notes everywhere, right through it. And she had been to visit every site that had we were discussing, and that's what she was known for, was her preparation, her attention to detail, but looking at the big picture. She is still involved with the Pegasus Community Centre Steering Group as a representative from the community, which is really good. And I know she was down there taking photos and sending it through to Ish, asking questions about something. So she's definitely still involved there, but she will be a big loss to the board. But yeah, the future's coming along, and yes, thank you to governance, to Kay and the rest of the governance team, and Courtney and Ashlyn, definitely, and Tia in the background. But now, watch out, she is the governance person for the board. So, and just thank you to the council for, you know, listening to our requests and that. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. All right, so with that, thank you, Shona. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Brent, seconded by Philip. Do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, if I may, whilst this is a chair's report of the activity, I'd also like to acknowledge that the chair, Councillor Powell, put a huge amount of work and effort into a lot of other things outside of that, in particular the Wooding bypass. And she must be commended for the amount of advocacy that she did over many years, and also the community centre, again, being actively involved in the community like she is so important with regard to leading the community board. And it's congratulations that she now is a councillor. But congratulations to the Woody and Sefton Community Board for all the activities they are involved in, and long may their list of projects continue to rise. And again, thank you to the governance team for supporting them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Redmond.
Thank you. I've been a member of the, or was a member of the Woody and Sefton Community Board for 6 years, whilst Councillor Shona, previously board member, Powell has been the chair, so I'd also like to acknowledge her work as chair. She's been an excellent chair for the board and ruled with a steady hand. So thank you for that work and your achievements, Shona, and congratulations to joining us at this table. The new chair for the board this time is Mark Patterson, and his deputy Andrew Thompson. So I think you've set a good template for the board to follow, Shona. So thank you for your report, and I will be attending Woody and Sefton Community Board meetings, but I'm no longer a member of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to endorse those remarks, and especially the strong and effective advocacy of the chair, not only in the last term but previous terms. It's no accident that we ended with a Wooding bypass or Pegasus Community Centre, the Pathway Project, you name it. A lot of improvements around our beaches and communities, and Shona, you are a very strong and effective chair. I know you're supported by your board, but the level of work and effort you put into submissions is second to none. So it didn't surprise me that you got elected to council at all, and I was hoping that would be the outcome. So because I knew you'd be a great representative here at this table. So well done. But thank you to the board for all that they've done in this last year. All right, any further speakers? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. We now come to the health, safety and wellbeing. That's the name of the Chief Executive. Is there anything you wish to cover, Mr. Acting CE?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take the report as read. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions of the CE on the CE's report? No, I'll put the sorry, I better get a mover. A mover for that, Councillor Mealing, seconded Councillor McLaren. See David. Would you like to speak? Councillor McLaren?
Just like to say that I think the report is just pitched at the right level for council members, and clearly there's the detail that goes below that to ensure compliance with the Health and Safety at Work Act. One particular incident that kind of leaped out of the page on 4th of November when a staff member was working around a caravan dumping station. We sometimes metaphorically talk about being in these type of circumstances, so to see a staff member actually exposed to an incident like that could be cause for alarm, but I'm assured that no further action is required after the remedial steps were taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Right of reply if you wish, Councillor Redmond. Councillor Meanings, pardon me. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. We now have Community Board minutes for information, 10.1 to 10.3. Someone prepared to move? Moved Councillor Ward, seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. Just for information, so unless there's anything you wish to speak to, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Council portfolio updates. I had nothing really to update on in reference to iwi relationships, apart from that I think our relationship's in a really strong position, and the CE does keep in regular contact with our various partners there. We've got a Renunga liaison committee coming up shortly, and it has been the hope that we look to have the annual hui again, but we'll keep you updated on where that's at. Any questions? Greater Christchurch Partnership, there's nothing to update at this point. We've got a meeting Friday, and one of those will be the potential appointment of certainly an interim chair, and there's James, who's the NZTA representative there, will chair the meeting up until that point. My own personal view is that until we know where all the reforms are at, then I think we should continue with someone like James chairing that in the interim, and we'll see where we get to in due course. I don't think there's any point in doing anything beyond that until such time with so much change going on with ECAN, etc. So to our reps there, that's certainly, I know I think we've got a briefing before we go in, that's certainly where I'm, and Jeff is certainly sitting in the interim as we've discussed it. All right. The other members, do you want to add anything?
It'll be interesting to see what unfolds on Friday.
Okay. Any questions of colleagues? And as I said, that's online. There is an online for that. Courtney, can we make sure that either work through my office or to make sure that the team, if you want to, can watch that. There is a public gallery. It's not a huge public gallery at ECAN, but if anyone wish to pop in, I'm sure there won't be a problem with that. It might not be the most, well, it might be an interesting matter, we'll see. But online, you certainly, it's worth, maybe worth being there, certainly online. Right, government reforms, well, gosh, where do I start? I think you're as up to date as I am about all that. Thank you. You would have seen the draft points that the Minister Meager asked us to submit on. There's a couple of points that some adjustments have made since then, including we're adding in the Canterbury Museum. If the government are looking at some projects that they could contribute or be involved with, Canterbury Museum would certainly be one in the shortfall that exists presently for the fish-out aspect of the museum. The building is a committed project, but the fit-out is not at this point, and you can't have a museum without a fit-out, really. So that would be one that I'd like to add in there. Is there any questions? As I mentioned earlier, we'll find the briefing opportunity for you all in due course. So I've got some guidance and reflections that I can share in the various forums that may or may not be in the future coming up. Certainly, mayoral forums looking at there's 2 meetings the end of January, and then there's some coming in. I think there's Greater Christchurch into February. So there's a lot of ongoing dialogue at the moment around what all this means for all of us. But the critical one is actually seeing where RM reform lands, and I understand that's about the 15th of this month. That will determine a lot of what's left over in terms of proposed left over in terms of functions for RM Canterbury and ourselves. All right, climate change and sustainability, Nikki.
Yeah, this has actually been a bit of a busy space, so bear with me, guys. I generally, at these updates, report back on what's going on with the Canterbury Climate Partnership Plan. So with that in mind, at this point, the group, the Canterbury Climate Working Group, which is staff, they meet quarterly, and they've made quite a lot of progress across most of the planned actions in that plan. With some of the key ones are starting to lag a little bit due to lack of staff resource to drive those. It does make me wonder, ECAN are working with some of these actions and are leading some of these, and it does make me wonder with the changes afoot there where that's going to go. Also of note, we've had more than 1,000 hours of in-kind staff time that Canterbury councils have contributed to that project between the beginning of the financial year and October 30th. ECAN is using some of their CCPP, the Canterbury Climate Partnership Plan funds, to employ a part-time project manager to support that implementation of that plan. And they've just completed the recruitment process, which will be interesting given everything that's up in the air. But I think that the reforms to do with ECAN are not so much to do with the staff at this point. So, I really don't know where that's going to land, but because they are a regional council and this is the Canterbury Partnership Plan, they do hold a lot of the work streams that apply to all of us. So just keeping a really close eye on that. With regard to the Canterbury Risk Visualization Tool, that project's now been handed over to the Selwyn District Council to project manage. VJ had been doing that before, but they've done a bit of a swap around for people that were better placed to do those. There hasn't been a decision made yet about whether to proceed with a region-wide tool or not, but the next step's likely to be that they'll do a data analysis to see what data is available across the region and where those gaps are.
I can probably help you with a bit of that because we discussed it at Mayoral Forum on Friday. There is a willingness to continue with the Climate Partnership program, but there is a revisiting of budgets for all of council, so that'll include whether the tool is adopted and furthered. It's to look at the combined budgets and what we're contributing right across the board. So Climate Partnership, certainly a program they want to continue with, but what the level of investment will be per council will be determined over the next, for each council in their respective annual plans. So hope that helps. And
Thank you.
By the way, I was nominated as the chair to continue. So.
Things roll on then, excellent. Yeah, so I guess following on with that, then the local emissions data platform tool, so that's Kinesis, which you may have heard me mention before, but that has moved to a regional model for the provision of that tool. And while all Canterbury councils have access to that, ECAN has also advised that they don't have an identified project lead for that. So yeah, that's kind of floating around with them, but that could have some implications for the benefits that we get from that tool, which is frustrating because we were actively involved in the development of it in the first place. But one of the things VJ actually said that she's particularly proud of our council's role in taking a leap of faith in supporting that project to get it off the ground in New Zealand to achieve what Kinesis themselves described as a world first in city emissions reporting paired with the tooling to decarbonize cities and regions to locally specific data sets. So that's us. Our council did that. So I really take my hat off to VJ for pulling that off. With regard to the Blue-Green Network, we have employed a University of Canterbury climate resilience intern. for 6 weeks because he needs 240 hours of work experience to complete his environmental science degree, and well, we need him, so I think that's a match made in heaven. He's working on the regional inventory and tender document for that blue-green network project, which will hopefully get us back on track with that. And then stepping away from the CCPP, we have just a couple updates with the organizational sustainability and emissions reduction plan. So at the beginning of October, all of our team leaders were asked to identify actions their teams were either doing or would like to do to reduce organizational emissions. And to date, we've had responses from 7 teams. So if you haven't put those in, guys, get it. No pressure, but pressure. And the rest of council risk assessment is being worked on by Melanie Liu, Tim Dornkamp, and VJ, and they've been doing a lot of work on that recently with the aim of getting that completed by the end of January. So yeah, so that's quite a big work stream there. And just touching on national climate legislation. So why that's important for us. In October, the government released its national adaptation framework, which was like 4 pillars on 1 page, but that didn't really look like a lot. However, we are likely to see consultation come through in early 26 on a proposed climate adaptation bill, which is expected to outline local government responsibilities for climate adaptation, including preparing adaptation plans for high-risk areas. And there's also a national flood map to be developed, and our staff are working together to provide our council's flood modeling data to MFE. So those are things that are going to affect us here on the ground, but we're ready for it, as much as one can be ready for the next wave. But I'm really interested to see the climate adaptation bill because 2 consecutive governments have toyed with this and they get to it and it goes in the too hard basket. So, hats off to them if they actually put an exposure draft in front of us at long last. But yes, that is it from me. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions of Nikki? Thank you. Very thorough report. Thank you. On a really important area for us, so thank you. International relationships, Deputy Mayor Redmond. And how many have you undertaken so far?
Thank you. Yes, this has been a busy area, Mr. Mayor. I was going to say that I've had no international relationships thus far. However, I thought I'd just briefly say that we do have 3 areas. One is our twinning relationship with Zonnebeek in Belgium, and you'll probably hear more of that during the 3-year term. The Passchendaele Advisory Group is also connected with Zonnebeek, and that's something, the closest I've got to an international relationship is looking at the Passchendaele Path between Rangiora and Kaiapoi. I have actually ridden that route, and I probably should do so again. And
on a bike?
On a bike.
Really?
Yes, yes. It was a wee while ago. The third area is the sister city relationship we have with Enchi, which was established in 2016. And that may be something, Mr. Mayor, you'd like to comment on. I understand you had a dinner with some high flyers from China. So apart from that, I have nothing to report in the international relationship area at this stage.
Thank you. With respect to the relationship with Enchi, at some stage, it's a matter I would like to discuss with the council in a briefing at some point, but it's not one that it's a large investment of time at the present moment, so it's the benefits or otherwise of that were determined at previous terms of council, so whether that's something we want to continue with is a matter we'll need to determine. In terms of the, recently I was invited to a meeting with, a dinner with the, or civic dinner with the number 3 from China who was here. That was a really significant occasion with his entourage of 60. He did visit our district, and during his speech went off script because I could see the interpreters it's not on the list, and we're busy scribbling away what his comments were, but he visited the Gilchrist property here and was very impressed with what he saw. He came over principally for the Riwiali Museum opening. Riwiali is very significant to China, and so that was on the Saturday. Goes with the importance of somebody that comes here of that ranking, how many traffic routes you have nominated, and I want to acknowledge our staff for their contributions to that, because it's like a US president coming here, not that we have them very often, but you nominate routes and they may go down, they'll go down one of those 3 or 5 that are nominated. So, but he was a very charming individual, and certainly his entourage were such that they were, you know, Christchurch did a good job at being the main host there, but he came with 2 planes, one the 747 which landed in Auckland, and then they had to bring another plane out for him to get him around the smaller airports, but my understanding, Wellington in particular, the larger plane was flown to Christchurch, and he flew from there to Australia. So he was here for 2 or 3 days, as I understand. So a great event for our area to be involved with. So that's why I was late to the Business Awards, because that's where I was. All right. Anything further, Deputy Mayor? Any questions? All right. That's international relationships. So I have no questions. Understanding or there's no urgent general business. Matters to be...
Yeah, just had one quick one. I know I'm not... Am I proposed to be a portfolio holder for anything to do with Canterbury? I know we don't have a Canterbury Water Management Zone. What is my status in that, and how am I to report any activities if there is...
sorry, just got some little hands waving at us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I realise it's up
your
in the air,
status is...
we're not about status, but I mean, it's like...
Well, can I just update you with what...
what's happening
Mayoral
there,
Forum, just at this stage, it was discussed on Friday. ECAN have still got some work to do, and I made it very clear that we won't be agreeing to the current boundaries that they've, under the review that they determined, and we would like the status quo, albeit with the changes that were agreed, to continue. So there was quite a robust discussion between various areas. There are others that weren't happy with what was going on with their zone committee, and so we put forward our arguments again. So Stephanie, the Chief Executive, and Dion have agreed that they will reach out to us for that discussion. Ngāi Tuhuriri, I don't believe, are in agreement with the proposed boundaries, but the city certainly are happy with going back to what it was, and we can look at other cross-boundary issues through 6 monthly meetings if required, but we shouldn't throw everything out just because of that review, which was really unfortunate in how it was rolled out with no discussion with our staff prior to recommendations being put forward. So at this stage your status is still pending, but I'll keep you briefed about where we're at with that, and if there's a discussion with Stephanie and Dion, which I suspect they have 1 or 2 other things on their mind at the moment, we will I'll make sure you're involved in that.
It wasn't so much about my role, but it was actually sometimes about the work of the committee. We had lots of action group projects that, yes, some of them were 1 or 2 years of funding, and they really, to be effective, they have to be 3 or 4 year funding, and they just need to attract funding or support for, you know, in some way. And I just wonder whether we could, somewhere within the organ of council, we can actually look at those current action group funding projects.
Well, I'd be happy
and make some, because some of it's for want of $5,000 worth of planting or something. They've only just done their planting the last year or something, and some of these projects are also funded through our other WDC council mechanisms. Yeah, you know, so I just hate to leave that hanging.
I'd be happy with you with respective related portfolio holders to have a conversation about how you feel some of these matters can be advanced.
Maybe.
Because as I made it clear at the mayoral forum, actually we don't need the zone committee to continue. We've got a number of these initiatives underway with our staff already and have done a lot of that heavy lifting. So if you wanted to do that, can I give you that encouragement?
They are effectively underway with WDC's water anyway. It's just that they attracted some action group funding. Yeah.
Take the lead on that. Maybe add it to the Wolf's Road Bridge and a few other matters that you've got underway. All right. Okay. So no other business matters to be considered with the public excluded. Some are prepared to move that we go into PX for the reasons outlined. Moved by Councillor Mealing, seconded by Councillor Ward. Sorry, I should look to my right, left. Sorry. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that